And anytime someone's in a more defensive posture, regardless of how reasonable your response is, they're less likely to take it and more likely to take it in a negative fashion and more likely to turn it into a conflict than a resolution, let's move forward type scenario, which is obviously negative for everybody. What is happening, beautiful people? Hello and welcome to another episode of the My Friends As You Grow Gyms podcast. I'm your host, Hoff, and you're in the right place if you are a gym owner, fitness pro, box owner that is looking to grow your gym, grow your business in ways that you, your team, the people you serve, your community, and not least importantly, your bank account are going to feel absolutely awesome about. Today is an episode that is very near and dear to my heart. It is hopefully something that you will take with you and find exceptionally useful immediately in many aspects of your life. And it's what we call the crucial conversation method. How do you deal with difficult conversations with, business-wise, team members, your employees? But realistically, this could be something that you use in all aspects of your life, parenting, your spouse, relationships, etc., etc., etc. So before we get into that, if you've been listening to a few episodes, you want personal help on growing your business in ways that, like we said, everyone's going to feel awesome about, including your bank account, head over to www.myfriendsasyouggrowgyms.com. You can book a super duper high pressure call with us, and we will pressure the shit out of you into giving us all the money you have and give you nothing in return. No, that's not how it works, obviously. But if you want to talk to us, see if we can help, see if things are a fit, awesome. Head over to that URL, myfriendsasyouggrowgyms.com. You'll set up a time, a little application, and we go from there. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about this crucial conversation. So basically, we are humans, and being in the business that we're in, we have multiple interactions with humans on a daily basis. Some of them have a bit of maybe a more negative connotation to them, or a bit of a higher risk of going south and going south quickly, right? And so for these difficult conversations where you might have to give somebody very negative feedback or ask somebody to move into a direction that they don't necessarily want to move towards, so on and so forth. These conversations can have an inherently negative connotation to them, right? And so with this basically this conversation structure, this conversation, we can speak English, this conversation method will allow you to do is to create the highest probability that you end up with a positive outcome and the lowest probability that the person on the other side who is dealing with something that will likely be a negative, less than ideal situation, not necessarily their ideal outcome on their side, will take it in the most positive fashion and minimize your probability of dealing with crazy on the back end of those things. So first and foremost, let's talk about let's revisit this idea of playing chess, right? If I could give you guys, we talked about, the Think episode where I just railed and ranted on different things going on in the fitness industry right now. We talked about the idea of thinking, of trying to play chess, of thinking of what are the second, third, and fourth order consequences of a given thing. And so one of my favorite examples, not just for this method, but for sort of these cautionary tales in general, that still honestly gives me a little bit of anxiety when I talk about it, is we had a customer at my gym. This is at the Mistake facility, my first gym. You guys have heard me talk about that, and sometime we'll have a big sort of tell-all multiple episode thing about that place. But still running, still going strong right now. But this was probably a year after I had left. The gym is in Minnesota. We moved back to Texas. So I've been running this place from about 1,000 miles away now for like 4 years. But at the time, I was probably a year out. And so I was not there to see what happened in this particular situation, which is probably one of the big nightmare doomsday scenarios for many of you as gym owners and trainers. So this person, we brought her kids into her workout, and that is typically okay. We have a very clear policy. We explain that beforehand. People always ask, "Hey, you can read my kids?" There's a very clear policy. We have a little seating area kind of over here in the corner, that is clearly delineated from the training space, and kids can sit, like there's couches, a couple chairs, all that. Kids can sit, do their homework, be on their iPads, whatever, take a nap, I don't care, as long as they don't go into the training space. Well, this person came in one day, and the kids were running around, hanging on ropes, whatever. And I think she was warned, but nothing happened. And then the second day, she came back, and we had our people. It was in Minnesota, so like you have literally 30 below zero days. So when it does get sunny, yeah, we're going to try to go outside and do some different things there. And so this was a particular day when I think we had clients jogging, going for a little run as part of the workout. And so they were coming in and out and doing some strength work, and then going for a little run or whatever. Basically her kids were running around in the middle of this session and locked one of the doors that clients were running out of. And one of our other clients, not the parent, obviously, wouldn't that be great? One of the other clients went to go open the door, was jogging, guys wasn't paying attention, hit the door, chipped her tooth. So like had a chip of her tooth, completely knocked out. Super scary scenario as a business owner, right? You immediately think lawsuit, all these different things. I had never I've still not been sued. Hope that doesn't happen. I've just helped other people through that situation, so it's a little bit less scary, but still, it's still like a very butt puckery type situation. And the parent of these two kids was not taking responsibility, and so I get called about this again. I did not see this situation, and you can imagine, like, my gut instinct was to completely fly off the handle at this person, and almost threaten them. You are not welcome here. We made the policy very clear. Your kids run around, cost somebody, the injury could have been worse. You're going to be responsible for this. You're not welcome here. Your membership is canceled effective immediately. There will be no refund, right? I could go crazy and go in that very negative space. But again, getting back to this idea of playing chess, the background now, our example, what is our practice problem going to be? But if we're to play chess, so this person brought her kids, violated policy 2 different times. This person also didn't take immediate responsibility or make an effort to make any sort of real sincere apology on the day of, when her kids were clearly the ones that locked the door. The door was open. People had gone through rounds beforehand. The kids locked the door. The client chips the tooth. So we might be dealing with crazy here, right? And so let's play second, third, fourth order consequences of dealing with crazy. First and foremost, if it's any disgruntled customer, you say, okay, well, what might happen? Well, they might go online and post some negative reviews. Okay, that's one option. That's one thing. Well, that's something that you can a lot of times deal with. That's fine. In this case, you're dealing with crazy. So might she tell stories to her friends? How connected is she? All these different things. Well, that's a possibility and something that you might have to deal with. Something that scares me even more with dealing with crazy might be how far and how like psychotic, if you go super negative, are you willing to go? Really, like in today's, like I hate to say it, but like in today's political climate. So like I really don't want to make this a political commentary, but I think it's important to A, protect yourself from these things, but B, to think about these things. So, let's say, who knows? Who knows? I don't even want to get into it, guys. So basically, she could go crazy, write negative reviews, tell all sorts of negative stories. Oh, we hate children, right? Oh, my head coach is is a person of color. My admin was a person of color at the time. My manager is a female, like whatever. Anyway, so pretty diverse workforce. But what if the business owner is a white male? And I don't actually know. I never actually saw this person, thankfully. But, what if she had tried to play that game? I don't know if she was a person of color or not. Maybe she would have thrown racist or kid hater or whatever it is. Like, you're dealing with crazy, right? Or you have the possibility of dealing with crazy. Let's try to make this happen as smoothly as possible, right? Let's give it the chance to go over smoothly and not have to deal with the crazy, contentious situation. Play chess. What are the different possible outcomes? What are the different possible moves? And then based on that information, how do we best protect ourselves from that or move forward? Right? That's the initial idea. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean people aren't out to get you, right? Anyway, Uh, so with that said, with that background, the practice problem, let's talk about what the crucial conversation method actually is. It's basically a 3-step process. Learned this originally. I had the book recommended to me by Mark Fisher and Michael Keeler. Great dudes. Mark Fisher Fitness, Business for Unicorns. They're awesome. Love those guys. They recommended the book Crucial Conversations. I don't know if I ever actually read the book or just did the summary, but basically the book method is this. Number one, you state the you start with common ground. Step 2 is you state the facts, not your feelings, not how it makes you feel. You state the facts. And number 3, you state your wants. I modify it a little bit, and I feel like this is the most powerful way to use this methodology, and it's my favorite way to do it. Is number 1, we still start with a common ground. That's probably the most powerful starting piece, right? It opens the ears. We'll talk about that in a second. Step 2 is you state the facts, and then step 3 is I want to open the door, and we'll talk about that in a second. I want to give the other person the chance to give us a positive outcome, so that we're not negotiating against ourselves, so that we're giving them the opportunity to be reasonable, and then limiting, I guess, the capital or the amount of times we might have to expend that negative energy, or that, like, you need to do this and this is how it's going to go, type situation, which can be powerful from a leadership and just like a likability and relationship perspective, right? So here's the method. Here's how this works out. Step 1, common ground. You basically want to start from the highest, the most powerful common denominator that you have with that person. An example of the lowest common denominator might be like, hey, like, neither one of us wants to like burn in a house fire. Like, we want to keep living and breathing and have happy lives, right? Like, we can agree to that, can't we? Notice the tone. I'm not being a dick about it. I'm not going crazy. I'm asking a question, getting agreement. And that tail end, you'll notice you get very reasonable. And it's, we can both agree to that, can't we? Can't we? Like, it's just, we can both agree to that, right? There's something powerful about that. We can both agree to that, can't we? Right? Again, can't we? Start from the common ground. Open the ears. An example of the higher common ground in the case of this person would have been like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I don't even know what I want to call her. Like, hey, bad mom. Shouldn't say that either. But hey, Mr. and Mrs. Bad Mom Client, like, we both want you to have a super awesome place to train and be able to hit your goals in a fun, like, safe environment, have a great experience doing, right? Like, we can both agree to that, can't we? Well, yeah, sure. Okay, so we've started by opening the ears. Now, picture this, or think about, humor me for a second here. If you are going, this is like, these crucial conversations are basically ways to handle like more difficult conversations. Let's say you have a team member who's been doing things that are not up to par, right? They're not up to snuff, and you need to basically come down on the team member and get some improved performance, or they're going to have to like find somewhere else to work. A lot of times, these people know what's going on. The person on the other side of you knows, shit, like, I've kind of done wrong. You've probably like asked, hey, like, we need to talk, right? Something along those lines. So they know, and their guard is up. And anytime someone's in a more defensive posture, regardless of how reasonable your response is, they're less likely to take it, and more likely to take it in a negative fashion, and more likely to turn it into a conflict than a resolution, let's move forward type scenario, which is obviously negative for everybody. So instead of starting with like, look, here's the deal. Like, I've worked for people that did that in the past. Like, it's not nearly as positive or as effective. It's like, here's the deal. Like, you haven't been cleaning up the weights after the session. We tell you very clearly that's what you're supposed to be doing. You haven't been doing it, and you need to get your ass with a program, right? Guess what? Like, the person's probably going to think you're an asshole, even if you're right? Even if the other person is being unreasonable with their behavior, you have almost zero chance of having it end positively, right? Of winning them over to your side by doing that. You might, maybe they need to be fired, right? Maybe like that's a different kind of conversation. But if you think they're good, if you think there's some potential there, or you don't want to see things go sour, right? You play chess and you see, shit, like, this could end really negatively. If I'm just a complete asshole about this, then open their ears first. Start from the common ground. Start from the most powerful common ground that you guys have, and it opens the ears to the other person, makes them more receptive, less defensive, so on and so forth. The rest of it will be just infinitely better than it was without it, right? So do not miss that step. You have to open the ears of the person sitting across from you. Thing two, state the facts. This is the most simple piece of the whole thing. You just state the facts. So we started with, both want a positive pace of training, blah, 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 have fun doing, great experience, right? We can agree to that, can't we? Yes, we've got the agreement. So here are the facts. Mr. and Mrs. Client, bad mom, whatever we're going to say. We made it very clear when you signed up and you asked us, like, oh, well, I've got a couple of kiddos. Can I bring them to the gym? We made it very clear that if you were to bring your children in the gym, that they were only supposed to be sitting in a designated area, whatever. On Tuesday, whatever date, your kids came in and they were running around the gym, hanging on the ropes like it's a safety hazard for them and for members. And we asked you to not let that happen. On Thursday, you came back again with the kiddos, and they were running around during a session. They locked one of the doors, and a member, hit the door with their face, like basically ran to the door and chipped her tooth. That'd be the facts, right? That's the end. I'm not telling her how pissed I am. I'm not getting into any of that. I'm moving through things pretty quickly. So I'm not giving a bunch of time for them to insert objections or insert, like a pushback or anything. I'm just stating the facts, right? I'm not getting into feelings. If I have an employee that's doing something, they've not been picking up their weights after their night shift, and it's leaving things for the morning shift. The morning shift's now having to pick up after them, so on and so forth. I'm not going to get into, like, you just don't care about your job. You're just a terrible person and make no effort, and you're a shit teammate. No, I'm saying the facts of the things that are happening before I move on to the next phase. Now, phase 3 is what? It is, in my method, it is open the door. Okay. Now here's the difference between open the door and stating your wants. So if you open the door and the person is still unreasonable, they're still an asshole, they don't come to a situation that you're okay with, I'm not telling you have to agree to what they say. What I'm saying is you're going to give them a chance to give you something that you're okay with. And if you're okay with that, great. Everybody wins. But if you're not, then you are going to have to state your wants and deal with whatever the repercussions are of that side of the conversation, right? But let's not just jump to these are our two options. This is it. You're authoritarian, totalitarian, so on and so forth, and you're shit out of luck. The end. I would not start with that. If it's an employee's first offense, I would not start with that type of, here's what's going to happen. Here's what we're going to do. How do you need me to hold you accountable to that? Right. We're not talking about that type of scenario. So what's a better opportunity? Let's open the door and give them a chance to be the asshole, or give it to themselves. Give them a chance to be a reasonable human. So in the context of this conversation, it would literally be, I've stated all those facts. The person chipped their tooth, had to go to the dentist, get things fixed. Like, what do you want me to do here? Right? I don't know what to do here. Like, what do you think makes sense? And you give her the chance to be a reasonable person. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to bring the kids anymore. I'm going to just come to sessions that make sense. I'm so sorry. I'll talk to the person who chipped her tooth and whatever. Make sure we take care of that. The end. So you could great. Yeah, that sounds super reasonable. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. I know you didn't do this on purpose, and I'm sure everybody feels bad about it. We'll see you in the gym. Move on. Now let's say that you were dealing with crazy and your suspicions were true, and she says, well, I don't know, it sounds kind of like your problem, Mr. Business Owner, Mrs. Business, Mr. Boss Man, Ms. Boss Lady. Maybe you should do something about it. Then you move into stating your wants, which I love kind of these A-B options when it comes to anything. If you can do that, be it sales or be it in persuasion, sales. So in the context of this person, I'd probably say something like this, look, we can't allow you, we've tried to have the kids come and have it be okay, and haven't been able to keep them in the in the area, and that's not my coach's responsibility to be able to be forced to babysit your kiddos, right? That's your job. And so we can't allow you to bring your kids anymore. So we can either have you bring them on, or have you come into the gym on days where you have childcare, or we'll just go ahead and refund. You've been training, whatever, your X amount of days into your 30-day program. We're going to refund you the prorated portion of the membership, and we can try to help you find somewhere else or somewhere with childcare. Which one of those options makes the most sense to you? And again, you'll notice I'm not being a butthead. I'm not being angry. Very even keel, very level tone, and basically moving through the conversation in a much more methodical way than it would be if I'm just screaming, going off the handle, and now I'm leaving no chance for her to be a reasonable person. So it may very well, and it actually didn't end, negatively for us. I actually had my manager handle the conversation so we could escalate if we needed to, and everything was fine. Thank you, Crucial Conversations method. But sometimes things are just going to go to crazy, right? And that's just the way it is. And we can't do really anything about it other than give ourselves the highest chance of having it not escalate to that scenario. So this methodology, even though, no, it's not going to fix every conversation for you. Some people are just unreasonable. Some conflicts or wounds are too deep, so on and so forth. But this gives you the best chance that I know of to be able to have everybody move in a situation that everyone feels good about. And your team will be more bought in. So I use this example all the time. The kiddo is more likely to eat the vegetables he chooses, right? So if you give the kiddo, if we give my son a choice, oh, you want, peas or carrots or whatever, and he chooses, he's much more likely to want to eat that vegetable and to finish it because he chose it. So it's the same thing with feedback, with having a difficult conversation with a team member, so on and so forth. If they say, gosh, no, you know what, boss, that's not who I am. I'm going to make sure that we clean it up every day. I've just been super busy at home. It won't happen again. Great, right? You chose your vegetables. I didn't have to come down on you. Our relationship's still intact. I didn't have to be an asshole to you, so you're not having these hidden negative passive aggressive feelings about me. Everybody wins. So anyway, we've been going pretty long on this. I hope this helps. You can use this in every aspect of your life. Start with the common ground, state the facts, and then I recommend opening the door. There are some scenarios where you just have to state your wants and deal with the consequences, but I recommend opening the door in most cases. Let me know, guys, reach out to me if you use this and it helps you out. I'd love to hear your success stories on this. Love, hugs, all that stuff. Hope this helps.